1 year ago, I had uncovered a conspiracy in the video game industry. An evil scheme devised by a ruthless organization, designed to ensure that good games would never reach the market again. The Nintendo that we all loved and grew up with, they were behind it all. The software kingdom was just another heartless business. They might as well have been selling life insurance, shutting out innovation to keep development costs down, all the while telling their fans they care. They didn't care about us. They didn't care about games. All they cared about was keeping control over the market. And so it began. For months, the words from the meeting ran through my head. So I did exactly that. I came up with a plan. I would expose their lies. I would show the entire world the truth about their beloved Nintendo. I had to prove Nintendo was stopping my game, holding it back because it wasn't shovelware. I released a video calling for publishers for my game. And indeed, the publishers came, 12 of them, and yet all 12 were denied. Then I held a protest, throwing myself before the mercy of Nintendo in front of the entire world. But my pleas were ignored and finally dismissed. Not a single person there would stand up for what they claimed they stood for. It was true. It was just a lie. I had seen it with my own eyes, but I still... Nintendo. Why? There's no way this was the real Nintendo. It couldn't be. At that moment, it hit me. I finally understood the real truth. Suddenly it was clear. That wasn't the real Nintendo. They were imposters. It all made perfect sense. The clues were there all along. The employees had been warning us for years, hiding messages in their own games. It was no coincidence. It was obvious. The software kingdom had become infiltrated by the darkness of shovelware. Reggie was being controlled, his mind hopelessly weakened by an overload of Imagine's games. He had become corrupted, an evil double of the real Reggie. Even worse, it dawned on me. The man behind it all. That grinning figure in the shadows that rarely spoke. It was definitely him. Yes, Nintendo was being controlled by none other than Miyamoto. I knew then that it was up to me. I had to save the software kingdom. I had no choice. This was fate. For I held the only weapon with the power to defeat this evil. The greatest game ever made. Even armed with this legendary super game, I knew it wouldn't be easy. I was facing an army. The millions of brainwashed children, held captive under the spell of tyranny, cast by the diabolical sorcerer Miyamoto. I would be demonized and hated, attacked from all sides, persecuted by the very victims I was trying to save. They would call me insane, a madman. I would become a villain to both the game industry and the unsuspecting fans themselves. But I had no choice. It was a necessary means to an end. In time, they would all see the horrible truth about their beloved Nintendo. I abandoned my former identity, cast away my possessions, and began anew. A madman I would become, a metamorphosis into a supervillain. So my quest began, to defeat the evil Nintendo, to expose the corrupted Dark Reggie, and to break the spell of tyranny cast by the diabolical Miyamoto. I began with a vicious attack on the very source of the evil, the Nintendo World Store. I sent a message to those corrupted by the darkness of shovelware. The greatest game ever made cannot be stopped. I knew exactly what I had to do. I would hold an interdimensional tournament, gathering each and every brainwashed gamer together at once. I would use that chance to break the spell over every gamer on the planet simultaneously. My plan could not fail. Nintendo had to be stopped. Hold on a second. Did you really not get it yet? I've been telling you from the very beginning. In fact, you has been playing it all along. Bob's Game is not what you might think. There's a reason it's called that. Bob's Game is a game about a game called Bob's Game. The bottom screen is Bob's Game. It's the story of a young independent developer named Bob who has created a game and struggles to get it published in a cold industry. He discovers a dark secret. The industry doesn't want new ideas. It's a carefully controlled business model, and real innovation poses a threat. Of course, this is all just in the game. I'm sure it's not really like that. Anyway, the Nintendo inside of Bob's game has taken control of the video game market. They've become corrupt and no longer focus on driving innovation. Instead, they use that control to hold back any games that might compete with theirs. Nothing like the real Nintendo, of course. A developer obsessed with games, Bob refused to accept this was how things really were. It contradicted everything he believed in. He simply couldn't believe it. In hopeless denial, Bob went completely mad, trying to convince himself it wasn't true. Yes, Bob had cracked. He truly believed that Nintendo fans had all fallen under the spell of the diabolical Miyamoto. In his mind, he was a hero. He would break the spell of shovelware and bring Nintendo back to its senses. But to you, Bob had become completely insane, a villainous madman that delusionally believed he was on a crusade for justice. Bringing down the evil Nintendo? Is he serious? And you began to wonder, does he think he's playing some kind of game? That's ridiculous. Yes, it was. But you knew he was no hero, because you was the true hero all along. Legend has it that you was born with a Nintendo game toy in his hands. Yes, you was the legendary Game Boy, the player of truth. In Bob's game, you, the legendary Game Boy, will journey into the dark world of the video game industry and discover the truth about the evil companies that make the games he loves. In order for you to discover and collect playable games for his Nintendo BS handheld gaming console. BS standing for bottom screen, of course, but it's also rumored to have a dual meaning. You will compete in game challenges and multiplayer battles to earn the respect of his peers and progress the story. You will travel far and wide in the ultimate epic quest to acquire the holy grail of video games, the greatest game ever made. A game so good, it had been virtually banned from the video game industry. The legendary Bob's Game. A multiplayer competitive tournament puzzle game. A brand new idea, more addictive than Tetris. Using the Nintendo BS internet connection, you will compete in a virtual and real-life, interdimensional worldwide championship against the greatest game developer in history, the legendary Bob. It is now up to you to stop the completely insane, outcast villain developer known as Bob by beating him at his own game.
Bob'sGame.com is a viral advertisement. It always was. There is no villain. It's not real.
You put